Ever wondered how the first family tragedy in human history unfolded? Our journey begins in the early chapters of Genesis, the first book of the Holy Bible, where we encounter the first family of humanity, Adam and Eve and their sons, Cain and Abel. Adam and Eve, the original parents of mankind, had two sons, each with their own unique roles within the family. Cain, the firstborn, took on the laborious task of working the soil, becoming a farmer by trade. His days were filled with the toil of tilling the earth, sowing seeds, and reaping the harvest. He was the one who brought forth the fruits of the earth, a testament to his hard work and dedication. Then there was Abel, the younger brother. Abel's calling was different from his brothers. He became a shepherd, tending to the flocks and ensuring the safety and well-being of the animals under his care. His days were spent amongst the rolling hills and green pastures, in the company of the bleating sheep. These were the occupations of the first two sons of Adam and Eve, each distinct yet equally important in their own right. But as we'll soon discover, these differing roles would inadvertently set the stage for the first family conflict, a conflict that would forever change the course of human history. This is a tale of sibling rivalry, of jealousy and anger, of divine intervention and human free will. It's a tale that delves into the complexities of human nature, exploring themes of envy, resentment, and the dire consequences of unchecked emotions. It's a tale that serves as a cautionary reminder of the destructive force of unchecked jealousy and the importance of humility before God. As we delve into this story, we begin to see the seeds of rivalry take root, a rivalry that, left unchecked, would grow into a towering tree of discord, casting a long, dark shadow over the first family of mankind. So, what sparked this family feud? It all started with an offering. Cain and Abel, the sons of Adam and Eve, each brought an offering to God. Cain, the elder brother and a tiller of the ground, presented fruits of the soil as his offering. Abel, on the other hand, was a shepherd. He brought the firstlings of his flock, the very best of his sheep, as his offering to God. But here's where the tale takes a twist. God, in his divine wisdom, looked favorably upon Abel's offering. The shepherd boy had given his best, the firstborn of his flock, a clear sign of his deep reverence and respect for God. It was an offering made with a pure heart and a sincere spirit, and this pleased God. However, Cain's offering did not find the same favor in God's eyes. Why, you might wonder? The Bible doesn't explicitly state the reason, but many believe that it was not the offering itself, but the attitude behind it that made the difference. Perhaps Cain did not give his best, or perhaps his heart was not in the right place when he made his offering. This divine preference for Abel's offering over Cain's sparked the first embers of bitterness in the elder brother's heart. Instead of seeking to understand why his offering was not accepted, Cain allowed resentment to take root within him. He viewed God's favor towards Abel as a personal slight, a rejection that stung deeply and stirred up feelings of jealousy and anger. Imagine the internal struggle, the sour taste of envy and the burning rage that began to consume Cain. He had worked hard, he had brought his offering just like his brother, yet he felt sidelined, overlooked, and undervalued. Cain's heart was filled with envy and anger, a deadly cocktail that would lead to a series of unfortunate events. It was a ticking time bomb, a dangerous mix of emotions that was about to explode and forever alter the course of their lives. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a tragic tale of sibling rivalry, one that would forever mark the pages of human history. God, in his mercy, didn't leave Cain to stew in his anger. Instead, he intervened like a loving father, hoping to steer Cain away from the brewing storm within his heart. God warned Cain, "If you do what is right, won't you be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." These words were not just a warning, but also a call to action. They spoke of the dangerous power of unchecked emotions and the destructive path they could lead to. At the same time, they were an assurance that Cain had the capacity to overcome his bitterness. God's message was clear. He didn't want Cain to be consumed by his negative feelings. He wanted him to rise above, to do what was right, to be the master of his own actions. But Cain, blinded by his resentment, failed to heed God's warning. Opening. Envy, left unchecked, can lead to unthinkable actions. Imagine a scene of tranquility. The first brothers in human history, Cain and Abel, out in the open fields. The sun is shining, the wind is rustling through the grass, and everything seems peaceful. But beneath this serene exterior, an insidious force is at work. Envy, as green as the fields they stand in, has taken root in Cain's heart. Cain was the tiller of the ground, a hard worker who sweated under the sun to produce the fruits of the earth. His brother Abel, on the other hand, was a shepherd, tending to his flock with care and patience. Abel's offering to God was accepted, while Cain's was not. This was the seed of resentment that grew into a monstrous tree in Cain's heart. And so it was, in this seemingly peaceful setting, that the first act of murder in human history took place. The Bible doesn't go into the gruesome details, but the implication is clear. Cain, driven by his envy and anger, lured his brother Abel into the field. There, away from any prying eyes, he let his anger take control. He struck his brother, not in a moment of thoughtless rage, but in a calculated act of violence. The horror of this act is unimaginable. Abel, unsuspecting and innocent, fell victim to his brother's envy. The shepherd, who had spent his days caring for his flock, became the first lamb to be slaughtered. And Cain, the tiller of the ground, now had his brother's blood seeping into the very earth he worked. This was not just a crime against Abel, it was a crime against humanity itself. It was a violation of the sacred bond of brotherhood, a betrayal of trust, and a rejection of God's commandment to love one another. Closing. The first family was now torn apart by the first act of murder. With every action there come consequences. A truth as old as time itself, and one that Cain was about to face head-on. After the heinous act he committed, God, in his omniscience, confronted Cain. The Creator does not need a confession to know the truth. He asked, "Where is Abel, your brother?" Cain, in his guilt, responded, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" God, in his divine wisdom, saw through Cain's deflection. He declared, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground." This was not a question but a proclamation, an unveiling of the truth that Cain was desperately trying to hide. And then came the punishment. God, in his justice, proclaimed, "Now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." Imagine the weight of these words on Cain. The earth, which he knew as his source of livelihood, was now cursed because of him. His hands, once capable of producing sustenance, were now stained with his brother's blood. The consequence of his action was more than just a punishment. It was a life sentence. Cain, in his regret, cried out to God. "My punishment is greater than I can bear," he exclaimed. He feared that his life would be taken in retribution, that he would be a target for others. God, in his mercy, provided a mark of protection, ensuring no harm would come to Cain from others. But the damage was done. Cain was left to wander the earth, carrying the weight of his brother's blood on his hands, the regret of his actions seeping into his every step. His life was forever marked by the consequences of his choices, a constant reminder of the tragedy he had brought upon himself and his family. Cain was now destined to be a wanderer, bearing the regret and consequences of his actions. So, what can we glean from this ancient tale? Genesis chapter 4, while ancient, carries timeless lessons that resonate even today. First, it highlights the destructive power of envy and uncontrolled anger. Cain's resentment towards Abel didn't merely harm his relationship with his brother, but it led him down a path of irreversible actions, culminating in the first murder. Second, the story underlines the importance of making right choices. When God warned Cain about his feelings, he had a choice to heed the warning or ignore it. His choice had far-reaching consequences, which brings us to our third lesson, the inevitability of consequences. Regardless of how long it took, Cain's actions inevitably led to his punishment. This story is more than a tale of the first murder. It's a mirror held up to human behavior and a testament to divine justice. Remember, it's not just an old story. It's a timeless lesson in human behavior and divine justice.